And a very pleasant good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition, a Monday, peel yourself off the mat edition of the morning briefing right here on NoFilter.net, Caffeine TV, and all the other platforms that carry the show. Jeff DeForest, along with one Mike Lubitz, and another fantastic weekend of endless opportunities to both make money and be separated from your cash. They should have played that before the Derby instead of just continuing on with. We apologize, and we picked up a new sponsor here, and that would be Levin and Weinstein Funeral Homes, because we buried you with our two selections on the Kentucky Derby. We went and deferred to the king of all futures, a good friend of mine who's been spot on Derby picks for years and years and years. I'd say, 10 out of 20 isn't bad when you're including horses that paid hundreds of dollars in the win position. It was a voice of authority speaking to us. And of course, 20th place is nothing to scream about. Did they pay off anything on 20th place? Our horse just a touch ran dead fucking last. I remember the euphoria, Lubie, the euphoria I felt when the Stewards Inquiry sign went up during the 2019 Derby, when Maximum Security came in first. And I'm looking at my ticket and I'm thinking, even if they disqualify this horse and take him off the board, which eventually they did, I'm cashing, it turns out, an even bigger ticket, a whopper on the trifecta. But this time it was Search Warrant City for our selections. Finished 20th. I don't even know where the other horse that we gave out, the 15 ball, ended up. But I think the next stop for that horse is going to be Beulah Park. Never mind the Preakness. It's over. Now, if you aren't betting, and there were many betting opportunities over the weekend, including basketball and hockey, which we'll get into, BetOnline is your number one source for all your summer sports this season. From MLB, golf, NBA, and NHL playoff stats, all the latest stats, news, and scores available to follow your favorite teams. You can get the latest odds and lines, including the latest team matchups, prop bets all over the place, player props. They have all kinds of stuff there. People find that very popular, and odds on just about every sport out there. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on all the action. Just be punching away right there on your phone. Bet online, where the game starts. Well, where does the game start? Well, we do have a good one in town tonight as the NHL playoffs have moved on to the second round. We had one game opening up the second round yesterday. The New York Rangers, very optimistic. The New York press is all over this. They won the President's Trophy, best team in hockey. That was, I don't know, was that somewhat of a surprise, Lubie? Did you see them winning the President's Trophy? I wasn't even sure as the season was progressing that I knew they were good. I didn't know that they were going to turn out to be, statistically anyway, point-wise, the best team in the NHL. And kind of a thriller in Manila finish. I love the end of all hockey games. It gets insane. It's helter-skelter. It's chaos. It's wild. Goalie is pulled. There's always a chance an errant puck goes in the net as you get a little steal of a pass, maybe tip it away, and boom, send it right down the ice into the net for the clincher. That wasn't happening yesterday. Carolina Hurricanes, who were our choice, our sleeper choice. See, can you really, tout that you gave out the favorite to win the cup as your sleeper choice? Louis, that's bordering on pathetic, isn't it? But I don't know if you caught the end of this game, because I know you were out celebrating Cinco de Mayo yesterday. But nonetheless, the Hurricanes, they go 6-on-5, and they get a goal. They pulled a goalie with about 3 minutes to go in the game. So they managed to tally one with about a minute and change left. And then the Rangers, on the very next possession, the Carolina Hurricanes win the faceoff, and the Rangers end up shoving the puck out into the crowd, a delay of game penalty. And so now it's going to be 6-on-4. And right after the puck drop to start the 6-on-4, which they were definitely peppering Shesterkin. And it looked dicey that the Rangers are going to be able to preserve a 2-goal lead with 3 minutes to go. Imagine how deflating that would have been. And a tripping penalty occurs right off the faceoff. Right. Becomes 5-on-4. The Hurricanes still pepper Shesterkin with a bunch of shots, good opportunities. Can't get the puck to go in the net. And so the Rangers take a 1-0 lead over the Hurricanes. And there you go. There goes another one of our predictions. It looks like at least tainted. There's a slight. Did you smell smoke? Yeah, I'm smelling a little bit of smoke. And of course, the other series are set and yet to get underway in the NHL. And then the NBA, you had a Game 7 yesterday. Cleveland Cavaliers and the Orlando Magic. Cavaliers were, I don't know that they were a sleeper pick, but we did suggest on the advice of some handicapper that was it far-fetched to try and imagine the Cleveland Cavaliers hoisting the Larry O'Brien at the end of the postseason. You would laugh, Lubie, and say it was far-fetched, which I also believe now after watching this 7-game bloodbath against the Orlando Magic, which the Cavaliers were life and death to escape, down 10 points at halftime, come back, they win the game by double digits. Once again, Donovan Mitchell was unstoppable. Is that becoming just an empirical truth, Lubie, that you need to have at least one totally fucking unstoppable guy to win in the NBA these days, to be a championship caliber team? One unstoppable guy. Can you win it just as a team, a group of really good guys, or do you need that one guy that you have to go to all the time?
No, I mean, you need one real dude. For a while there, you needed 2 to 3. The problem with the Cavs are he doesn't get a lot of help. Like they have plenty of talent, but the guy like Darius Garland, the last 5 to 8 minutes played well, but most of that game was nowhere to be found. Evan Mobley is one of the better young big men in basketball, and he ended with 16 rebounds. He had a decent stat line, but he does not help on the offensive end like he should. And it's funny, Jared Allen, of all people, actually became a big part of their team, and he's missed the last 3 games. I wouldn't pick them to win it. I don't think they have a chance for anyone in the West, but I could have seen them. Look, the Celtics, again, as I've talked about, are overrated to me. When you look at their roster top to bottom, it's fucking gross. They have 4 dudes. One of them is hurt, as we expected. So they have 3 guys. Derek White shows up from time to time, but over teams that actually play good defense, which you saw the Cavs yesterday, Derek White doesn't do shit. The Celtics are 2 dudes that choke in big moments. So I would have given the Cavs a chance first then, but to see them struggle mightily versus a young Magic team that's not ready takes away pretty much any hope I have of them pushing the. Like, if they could take the Celtics to 6, I'd be surprised at this point. It's really Donovan Mitchell or bust, and that's not. Yeah, you need one dude, but that dude needs help, and the Cavs don't seem to give Mitchell the kind of help he needs.
No, it doesn't appear that way, and they were very lucky to escape this. Can you take pride in predicting, Lubie, a Porzingis injury? Isn't that like predicting the outcome of a Globetrotter game? I mean, I guess one time out of 15,000 you were wrong when Red Klotz somehow said, you know what? Nobody beats the Washington Generals 3,587 times in a row. He pulled a Garolitis on that thing, Red Klotz. May he rest in peace. One of the great Reds in terms of basketball coaches, right up there with Holtzman and Auerbach, in my opinion. I mean, to win that one game of the Globetrotters was monumental. I don't know. Was Meadowlark Lemon hurt that night? What happened? Anybody know the details on that loss? But it's a fine example of a team that's just going to get schlumped. The 8 teams remaining in the NHL, you would say, I mean, it would be fair to consider that all of them have a chance to win the Stanley Cup. The 8 teams left. I don't know if that's true about the NBA, so let's try to narrow it down. Minnesota looked very impressive over the weekend and taking Game 1 against the Denver Nuggets. Ooh. The Denver Nuggets were kind of just a little bit sluggish in their Lakers series, were they not? Yes. They didn't look great. They looked good enough to win. It was kind of like watching Canelo Alvarez beat some of these nondescript opponents that he's dug up from the German graveyard, although this Jaime Munguia put up a little bit of a fight, but eventually just succumbed to the power of Canelo Alvarez. But he does just enough to win. It's kind of Mayweather-esque, is it not? When you watch this guy fight now? So you're not sure what he could do against a really, really top-notch, determined, ferocious, Clubber Lang mentality type of fighter like David Benavidez, if the two ever get in a ring. But we know how this works in boxing, where you can just age a guy out of the game. You wait till Triple G is 45, and then you fight him. You consider maybe fighting Mike Tyson in his comeback at 58. All of a sudden, Canelo Alvarez is Jake Paul. But you can't do that in the NBA. So if you look at the NBA, the Knicks and the Pacers, you're thinking the Knicks probably prevail. I was looking at some predictions, New York media, and they're not always inclined to pick the New York teams. They're not afraid to go out there and alienate all of their readers and fans by going ahead and saying Pacers in 6. But I don't know that I see that. The Pacers losing 2 games to the Milwaukee Bucks, so is a little bit of a red flag for me. And I think the Knicks are playing well enough, and Jalen Brunson has been on such a roll that I would imagine the Pacers, not the best defensive team in the league, probably are up against it in their series against the Knicks. Nuggets and Timberwolves now, you have all of a sudden, Lubie, a pivotal game 2, do you not? If the Nuggets go down 2-0 on their home wood to the Timberwolves, you would have to think that series has swung considerably in the favor of the T-Wolves. It doesn't take a genius to figure that out. You're down 0-2 and you've lost the home court advantage. And not only that, but you succumb and lose a second game. That would be dangerous. So that's going to be pretty interesting. see how that one turns out. I don't know that I was a firm believer in the upstart teams, the Timberwolves
Wow.
and the Oklahoma City Thunder. We'll find out more about the Thunder as they go in the next round of the tournament against the Mavs, who managed to polish off a very depleted LA Clipper team. And I don't know that it mattered that the Clippers were depleted because the Clippers have a tendency to just do themselves in anyway when they get to playoff situations. And you mentioned Boston, the Celtics. You're not a big fan without Porzingis. I don't know how that much how much impact that's going to have, but you would have to think that the Boston Celtics somehow end up in pretty good shape. What the Cavs are going against the Celtics, right?
Yes, yes,
Cavs,
yes.
Celtics, yeah.
Yeah.
I think they win that game pretty handily. Meanwhile, if you look at the Timberwolves, Anthony Edwards, wow,
He's a monster.
has he turned? I mean, how good is this guy?
He's,
He was virtually unstoppable. They had three guys on him. They were draped all over him like a cheap suit, and they couldn't stop him from doing what he was trying to do. Brunson has played a very similar style game, but Edwards appears to be much more of a powerful force than Jalen Brunson, and the kind of guy that can sustain this no matter what they do to him. They could start beating the shit out of this guy, and I don't know that it matters. And Karl Anthony Towns is finally happy. He's found a way to, fit in as more of a role player than he was as the number one main impetus that the Timberwolves had. And all of a sudden, what are we going to be looking at? A smiling A-Rod courtside? I didn't see much of an A-Rod presence. Did you? Where is he during all of this?
I don't know. I mean, he's been. Didn't they? I know there were some issues with their ownership buying. So I don't
He
know.
can't get a seat at the game,
I think
A-Rod?
he's still an owner, but they were supposed
He
to
can get a seat on every television set. Doesn't matter how stupid he is.
be majority owners. I don't know if they. I know there was an issue with that. Um, yeah, I still think the Nuggets win, and I still think they win in six. But I think it's going to be a bloodbath. I think it's going to be a war. I think the T Wolves, they may be more ready than I gave them credit. Because Towns, you're saying it. Towns has finally found the guy that he's willing to be the second guy too, and Anthony Edwards is just a force. I mean, we knew that coming out of Georgia, the guy can do everything. He's just young. I mean, he's still only 22, but look, Jalen Brunson relies on really bullshit officiating to get to the line like 16 times.
He has to bring his own officials with him. That's like the horse that has to bring his racetrack with him. That's a saying in horse racing. He only runs well at certain tracks. They say he's got to take his track with him.
Look, he scores no matter what, but a lot of it depends on him getting to the line, and a lot of him getting to the line is bullshit. That is not Edwards' game. Edwards could give a fuck if he gets to the line. The guy's an athletic freak, can get to the rim at will, but also combines that with really being, if not good, at least solid at the 3-point line. And on top of that, he plays ferocious. That's the other thing too that people don't. Brunson's not a good passer. He doesn't rebound, and he does nothing defensively. He's actually a sieve. They actually will take him out at the end of games because he actually hurts them defensively. Edwards is a force defensive. Like Edwards literally gets after it on the defensive end as much as he does on the offensive end. Like he actually takes pride in the challenge of playing good defense. And you watched that yesterday. They were talking about, is he arguably the best two-way player in the league? And the only reason you have to say yes is who else is good. Like Luka doesn't play defense. Jalen Brunson doesn't play defense. SGA I think is good defensively, but he's not like an all defensive guru. Like Anthony Edwards was getting after it versus the Nuggets in game one. So I still think the Nuggets, they feel like it feels like they're in this malaise where they're just sort of getting by. They did that.
They're just kind of coasting to the win, aren't they? They're doing a little shoulder roll. I mean, it really does look like those Mayweather Marquez fights.
Yes. But I think the Timberwolves punched them in their face game one, and I think they're like, oh shit.
We'll see what happens. I mean, it'd be nice to see him rebound. Mike Malone, the coach, who I have great respect for, he seems to be right on top of virtually everything, does everything the right way. He was gracious in defeat, but nonetheless, he had to be just a little bit, as we used to say in Brooklyn, a little bit scared of what might happen. And then you right away have set up a pivotal game, too. A couple of other things. We had the Formula One here in Miami yesterday, right here in our hometown. Lubie, were you inclined to go? Because I have no interest in Formula One. I don't understand the fascination with Formula One. The place was jamming. I mean, you couldn't get near it. They were charging outrageous prices for tickets. Everybody wanted to go to parties with celebrities. And then on top of that, much was being made on social media about a post where they showed the menu for food in one of the fancy sections. And they were charging like $300 for chicken tenders. things along those lines. You could get like a cupcake with caviar on it for like $1,000. It was such an outrage, and I was thinking, what a contrast that is from NASCAR fans. When they
Yeah.
go to the concession stands, it's more along the lines of, How much for that burgoo?" Right? This guy's looking to stuff some squirrel in his face that was just on the highway a couple of hours before. Is it fresh? Yeah, yeah. Somebody just ran it over. Okay, great. Versus the type of crowd, the caliber of crowd, the type of clientele you have for Formula One, and Max Verstappen, who's won every race he's ever entered, lost. He
Yes.
somehow managed to finish second. Incredible.
Lose. Yeah.
By the way, a phenomenal finish there to the Kentucky Derby. You know what sucks is I couldn't even enjoy a 3-horse photo in the Derby because I had none of them.
I know.
Not one, not two, not three. None of them. And there was money to be made. It still is the greatest wagering opportunity that you could ever have. But wow, if you had bet against Verstappen yesterday, you could have made yourself a score. And then we predicted this. This was the best inside information far and away that we ever had. Taking the under on the Miami Marlins during the baseball season. Now, when we bought in, it was 79 wins. They get off to an impossibly bad start. You can't even conceive of a start this bad. Even Frank Robinson from the grave was thinking, my God, how could anybody start out worse than my Orioles did when I was managing the team? And we lost like our first 47 games. Incredible. They're like 6-25. And then what do? I mean, talk about an early season fire sale. This guy wasn't going to be a free agent until the end of the 2025 season. Luis Ariz, back-to-back batting championships, first in the American League, and then hitting over 350 for last year's playoff contending Marlins, who managed to make it into the postseason. And yet, I mean, did nothing in the offseason to try and build on that. In fact, they fired the woman that got him there,
Yes.
in Kim Hain.
Oh, they did.
And now they trade Luis Ariz, one of the best hitters. I mean, this guy reminds everybody of Tony Gwynn, Rod Carew. You hear the comparisons, and they're valid. This guy's got one of the sweet strokes in the game. He rarely strikes out. Not a big power hitter. He's lucky if he gets you 10 home runs during the year, but you don't care because you have guys dancing off the bases all game long. The guy gets on base. He gets hits. He stirs things up. Perfect guy to have in the leadoff spot for any team. Not terrible defensively, although I don't know that he's going to make anybody forget Bobby Richardson's play in the World Series against Willie McCovey, but decent defensively. And you trade him for nothing, for suspect prospects. What they got? They got something off a Chinese menu, like Wok Fak Su or whatever. I don't even know this guy's name. Not even the top prospects in the San Diego organization for a guy that won back-to-back batting championships, including last year.
Yeah, they're so stupid.
Very much in his prime at 27 years old. And you give this guy away early in the season when you're struggling, staggering around. But what was this guy? I mean, just a saboteur? This Peter, I think, I keep wanting to call him William Bendix after the old actor. But who is this guy? He looks like Jonah Hill, came from the Tampa Bay Rays. Just because he was in the Rays organization, does it matter that he was only the bat boy?
Yeah,
This is the genius that you're going to entrust the fortunes of your franchise in if you're Bruce Sherman, the owner of the team. What a clown show. Incredible.
It just sucks that, like, you'll see teams look at the T-Wolves now, the Phoenix Suns, even though this Ishbia guy's a lunatic, at least he spends money, unlike the scumbag before him. The Mavs with Cuba, like, at least in basketball, I'm trying to think of in baseball, like owners that know a product is rough, but if they're willing to spend a little, they can turn it around. Like, the Marlins never get that owner. The Marlins get the owner that, by owner standards, is homeless on the corner asking for fucking change. Like, every owner they get, John Henry was broke. Magically, he became rich as fuck when he got to the Red Sox, but with the Marlins, he was broke as fuck. Huizenga was willing to spend, and then one playoff run was like, oh my God, the seats were empty. Fuck these fans, trades everyone, even though they win the World Series in the goddamn playoff run. Like, they get an owner who up until
Jeffrey Loria, he was selling Dayglow Jesus paintings under the highway, and then all of a sudden he owns a baseball team. He didn't own the shirt on his back.
He didn't pay for his own team. He gets given money by some weird bullshit so that he can buy a team, never spends one half of offseason, gets pissed the first month, and trades everyone away.
Well, made horrendous choices, too, when he spent that money.
Well, no, it was. I mean, the Heath Bell move was one of the worst moves in baseball history. But ride it out a little. They went through like the quarter pole. Like, oh, this isn't working. It's like, how the fuck do you? It's like, oh my God.
How are you having a fire sale before we even hit May? That's incredible.
Like,
They hadn't even run a derby yet, and they got rid of this guy.
Sherman's not even worth $1 billion. And again, who am I to talk? But as an owner, then why was he allowed to buy it? Like, I just
Your owner's coming out of Camilla's house, which is a local homeless shelter. And this guy's running a franchise, and you're supposed to go there and buy tickets. Well, I mean, as evidenced by the Marlins' attendance over the years, unless they paper the house, they can't draw 7,000. And that's just going to continue to be a trend. The good news is that they can get away with it because nobody gives a flying one here in Miami about baseball. It is the biggest disaster that you've ever seen. But very successful. I'm very hopeful about our prediction here as they trade their best hitter away, and they didn't sign Soler, who they had little chance of retaining, the guy that was their leading home run hitter last year, and a big catalyst for the success that they had. And all of a sudden, Skip Schumacher, the manager of the year, pretty much, it's a well-known fact, is ticketed to go elsewhere, either before the season ends or just after. He's going to be long gone. So any success that you could have possibly anticipated, out the window, under 79, pay me now. That's what I say. And I hope you guys followed us. I guess we'll track this the rest of the season here on the morning briefing. All right, great weekend. I can't believe Verstappen lost. Amazing. Wow, all of the celebrities there, they had to be completely deflated. Imagine the money that went up in smoke on the chalk, as it did with Fierceness. That was one thing we were right about. We said that Fierceness was going to bounce out in that race that he had in the Florida Derby. Looked magnificent and be nowhere in the Kentucky Derby. A lot of the top horses, though, will not run in the Preakness, including the possibility that the winner, Mystic Dan, will not run in the Preakness. Ownership inclined to skip that and gear up for what will be sort of a hybrid version of the Belmont Stakes, going to be running 1.25 miles at Saratoga, as Belmont is undergoing massive renovations and won't be ready for a couple of years. So that's coming up in a few weeks. Many horses opting to avoid the arduous road of coming back in 2 weeks to run 1 mile and 3/16 at Pimlico. So you won't see Sierra Leone, who was right there in the photo, and in all likelihood, it looks like you won't see Mystic Dan either. So a whole new bunch going to be in there. It may be reduced to some kind of cheap claiming race. We shall see. The Japanese horse already back in Japan there, looking for Otani's interpreter to figure out what the fuck went wrong. All right, we got to get out of here. A lot of fun being with you. We'll do it every day, and thanks so much for tuning in. See you again tomorrow here with the next edition of the Morning Briefing. NoFilter.net, Caffeine TV. For Mike Lubie Lubitz, I'm Jeff DeForest. Lubie with a great prediction. Porzingis to be injured sometime during the season. Man, I tell you what, that's clairvoyance. I mean, we're talking Miss Cleo here. I will see you next time as we bid you adieu on the current edition of the Morning Briefing.